prom so long ago, and well, I can say this one was a little more exciting if you survived. But yeah, I guess those were the days, and yeah, we're over that. So, what is this prom about? What are we happening here? Let's see, starting with the IMDb plot. When the It Girls, competing for prom queen at Shadyside High, start to disappear, a gutsy outsider discovers she's in for one hell of a prom night. Again, yes, having some exciting stuff happen here in this prom. Yeah, it's exciting in some ways or others, and this one is exciting in a different way. All right, so this is a continuing of the Fear Street kind of series on Netflix. It's been out for a short time now, so I'll try to keep this kind of spoiler free. Some of you guys probably may have not seen it yet, but it is kind of similar in the way we have it is a slasher theme here, so at least I'm down for that part of it. Maybe not the prom, but the slasher part of it is good. So we have that theme rolling in here, and like the other one, it was in different time periods. This one I believe was 1988, so taking us also back a little bit. All right, so pretty. Nothing too complicated here. Pretty much the summary kind of covers a little bit of it there. We get introduced to several different girls in this school here. We have obviously the popular ones, and the ones you might say running the school. One in particular, and she has, of course, her 2 or 3, followers there doing everything she wants and kissing her behind there. And, then we have a couple others that kind of want to be up the food chain and are trying to be there and even going to go and compete in prom for queen. And, we have another girl who you could say, as it says there, kind of the outsider. And, she does a pretty hilarious trick early on in one of the classes. And, her friend is a little bit different, but, she also kind of inspires to maybe be prom queen, but is a little bit more on the quiet side. And even though they're friends, they're a little bit different as well. So, that's kind of the setup here, and those are, I guess, the 3 main girls here we're talking about, and lots of introduction to their characters and the how they mix in school and so forth, until we get to the prom and eventually to the killing. As prom begins. The killer is there and starts picking off people left and right, particularly the other girls who are competing for prom queen. Obviously, it's going to start with some of the ones we don't get to see a lot of, and then move to the 3 girls mentioned here, even though one of them is not the prom queen, but she definitely, the outsider girl, we'll call it, the horror fan girl, I should say that. Just because you're a horror fan doesn't mean you have to be an outsider. Come on, people. But regardless, she kind of stumbles onto what is happening here, and is probably the first to kind of figure out something is bad is happening. And of course, she, again, the horror fan, you're going to figure it out. We're way above other people in these situations. We should be. But she's going to kind of figure out that something's going on here. And, of course, she wants to warn her friend, but her friend is more concerned with, what's going on in the prom. And, of course, there's a guy involved. So, of course, that's a distraction. And so, we have other things happening here. So, we're not too concerned with the killer until it's time to really be concerned with the killer. So yeah, that's pretty much the basics of what's going on here. As for thoughts on it, um, obviously it's a slasher, so enjoyed that part of it. Some decent kills in here, some blood and guts. So that was fun stuff, and enjoyed that angle of it and that kind of stuff. So enjoyed the death scenes and so forth. I don't think there's anything tremendously new, but certainly still enjoyed it. The killer is dressed all in red and kind of looks like the devil sort of, and not a bad costume. Pretty slick there. It's kind of rubbery and so forth. But as I was thinking about coming on to do the review here, I was kind of thinking of I could swear that we've seen that at least recently, and I was thinking about where it was, and I'm pretty sure we saw something similar. I think it was American Horror Story, if I'm not mistaken. I think they did a red costumed killer. I don't remember if he was the slasher or not, but I could swear it was American Horror Story. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we saw someone in red similar to this not too long ago. So I don't know, but it still looked pretty cool and definitely intimidating when they came face to face with whoever they were going after. So we have that. Again, I think because it's a bunch of young people here and going to prom or whatever, maybe that kind of theme tailors to some more than others. I just I kind of felt like we've seen this thing before. Not a tremendously new kind of setting and something different. I guess being could have been in the woods, and then okay, well, we've seen everything in the woods, so I guess there's that. But I don't know, I just didn't seem like a we're making a new path here in any way. And the other problem with it, I think, is I think you're guessing who the killer is, and early on you're kind of like, oh, it could be this person, that person, or whatever. But I think it gets to a certain point, and obviously not right before the reveal, but I think it gets to a certain point, kind of maybe sooner than it should, where it has to be X. I'm not going to give it away, but it just, by what is happening, and it just makes sense, and it has to be this. And generally I kind of judge it if I kind of figure it out, then and I figure it out at a decent time earlier than it's revealed, then maybe they weren't really trying hard to hide it, or didn't care, or I don't know, I call it kind of too obvious then. And for others that are really good at figuring this stuff out, I feel sorry for bad for you, because sometimes I really, really try to figure these things out, and other times I just let it roll. I was terrible in like Saw and figuring out like what was going on and that kind of thing. But if I kind of figure it out at a decent clip here, I don't give the story too much credit then. So I don't know. So and then what happens after that also becomes predictable. After the reveal, you as a I guess if this is tailored to, I guess a younger horror audience, maybe not seen a lot of things, maybe a young Netflix horror fan group, who have not seen a ton of horror and so forth. Maybe this doesn't come as a big, maybe they're a little bit more surprised, maybe they haven't seen as much like this or so forth. I don't know. But once it comes, we see the killer, and for those who have seen it already, and you see the killer, and then the movie is not over, it's pretty clear what is going to happen next. There is no twist and turn, as I usually say. Maybe they're trying to make it seem like a twist and turn, but and I know, or hopefully what is about to happen next. And again, then that's kind of like, there's no surprise here. It sets up for a little bit of excitement and a little more chance for killings and so forth. But it's just from a surprise standpoint, there's no surprise. That's, I don't know. I guess if you want a surprise, then, I guess it's a bad thing. If you don't really care, then whatever. So yeah, there's that. So I think, overall, and I guess another thing that I was kind of thinking when I was watching it was just seemed like maybe another version of the slasher series that we've also kind of seen that was on Netflix, now on Shudder. Just kind of seemed like, almost another version of that. I know they have their way of telling their slasher story, and this is obviously told in a different way, but I think at the end of the day, it just seemed like, at the end of the day, it was just, the basic of it, or the basic of what I liked, was just whenever the slasher appeared and killed somebody, and everything else was, whatever. Especially here, I think in the slasher series, they give you some more food for thought, and figuring out who the killer is was obviously is a little harder than it was here. But in some way, it just felt the same. I don't know, and I don't know if it's just because of watching on Netflix, because I, watched the ones that were on Netflix. I still watch the one on Shudder, but particularly that one, it just felt this, similar in certain way. I don't know. So yeah, I think, overall, I'm pretty sure I reviewed the other three Fear Streets from a couple of years ago. I think because that seemed more of a series thing and connection, I seem to enjoy that a little bit more. This one seemed a little bit more separated, and just gave me nothing really new. Nothing new in the story became obvious at the end, and whatever. So it at the end of the day, I guess it just doesn't stand out. I guess it was well done, but it doesn't stand out from too many other slasher kind of things you can scroll through either Shudder or Amazon or Tubi or whatever and find and watch. Maybe the production value was better because they probably had more money behind it, but nothing really stands out. Like I said, the kills were good. The killer looked good in the costume there, but at the end of the day, for something that you would have thought was a little bit bigger, whatever, should have given us something a little bit more. So I guess that leads to a little disappointment there, I guess. And I'm not sure if we're going to get more Fear Street, movies or not. We'll see. If they do, I'll watch them. It's not that I'm trying to hate on it. I'm down for watching a slasher. But, as far as being, something that, I guess, if this is their thing for slashers now, okay, we'll do it. But it's not something I'm going to be like sitting on the edge of my seat, waiting to happen again. If it happens again, I'll watch it. If not, okay, whatever. So at the end of the day, I think I'm just going to give it 2 pools of blood. Again, the production is good. The acting was fine. Nothing wrong there, but just, when you kind of know what's happening and there's nothing else happening, there's nothing really to make it, hugely stand out. So I'm going to give it 2 pools of blood out of 5 and call it at that, and glad prom days are over and all that, a long time ago. Whew. Anyway, so horrorsgorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video, certainly tons of video reviews here on YouTube. So you can like and subscribe and do everything else that everybody wants you to do here on YouTube. If not, no worries, it is okay. I thank you for your time regardless, whether watching the reviews or watching the shorts, or even joining me at Promote Horror or whatever. I thank you. Twitter, Facebook information below. Feel free to join me there. Thank you if you do. Talk about this movie, other movies, something you want me to review. Definitely in the comment section, if you saw this, did you like it, your thoughts, even your comparisons with this and, the other Fear Streets, if you want to compare it, let me know. So with that, I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.